I'm Michael.
I'm Elizabeth.
And welcome to the Edge Quarren Stream. You really like when I say that, don't you? No, she doesn't. Do you like our hair? She cut my hair.
Even the curls. He even let me touch the curls.
Only a little bit. She only was allowed to touch a little bit.
But I got to use scissors.
You're free to use scissors any day.
Not on your hair, though.
Just don't run with them.
Oh my gosh.
Well, hey, we are so glad that you have joined us today or whenever you're watching this. Hopefully soon, Edge will be meeting. We'll be meeting sometime on Zoom before then to let you guys know all of this stuff for summer. But for right now, we do have our Zoom chats. That's going to be after this if you're watching this Sunday night. So we are so excited to be talking to you tonight, and we're going to be ending the story of Joseph. So to fill you in, if you haven't been on this series and you haven't seen it, you can actually go to our Sunday stream playlist. And you can flip through our Edge stream videos, and there you can see the story of Joseph as we've been going through them. First, we learned about how when we don't know what to do, first of all, know that our decisions impact our family. That was week 1. Mm-hmm. Week 2 was know that God is with you. Week 3 was do the next right thing. Mm-hmm. Then last week, week 4, a little shorter, was just know that your pain can be used for purpose, and you can find purpose in it. But today we're talking about our responses to people and how we can respond to people either in the first place or when they do something to us, good or bad. So the word we're kind of focusing on today is called payback. You've probably heard that word before, right? We all want to give paybacks sometimes, but you know, it's not always a bad thing. Like, have you ever had anybody do something good for you without wanting anything paid back to them?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually.
Oh, wait. I forgot to say.
Oh.
This is all fresh, right? We're just going to keep this in. So if you don't know, I'm the high school director at our church, but this is my wife, Elizabeth.
Hi.
Elizabeth, what do you do?
I'm a nurse. I'm a registered nurse.
Yes. And where do you work?
I work at St. Joe's in Pontiac.
And this is why I can afford to be in ministry. That's right, because I'm married a nurse. Oh boy, and she's cute too, so that works. Anyway, so have you ever had a time that somebody did something nice?
Yes, absolutely. Actually, I had the honor of taking care of one of my friends while he was in the hospital. And he actually, when he was released, he bought our whole floor lunch. And he didn't ask for money. He wanted to do it as a gift to say thanks and just thank us for the care that we gave him.
Like all the nurses, or
the whole entire floor, like all the
floor.
staff, like even the environmental specialists who do like our cleaning and stuff. So everybody on the floor.
Everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's awesome. And didn't ask for anything.
Nope, he wouldn't take any money or anything.
We
tried to offer him money and he wouldn't take it.
Okay.
So.
Wow. That's awesome.
It was really sweet.
Did you bring home leftovers that day?
No, he fed a lot of people.
Oh man,
No
nice
leftovers.
Some leftovers.
No
I probably had peanut butter and jelly that day. Yeah, feel bad for me. Well, speaking of payback, yes, we know that sometimes like good things can be paid back, mm-hmm. right? And we want to pay back people for the stuff that they've done for us. That's good, but most of the time, though, let's be honest, payback is a word that we use in a negative light, right? People do things to us. People cause harm to us, and either on purpose or on accident. And from the moment we're born, we just have this instinct where we really want to get people back. And I think there's a couple of ways that we can do that. Either like we could do what we would call maybe like public payback, where we want to pay them back in a way that other people see. Or maybe what we would call, I think another way we sometimes pay people back is like a passive way, so that other people won't see, or maybe we do like give somebody the cold shoulder or something like that. So it's a payback, but it's quiet, right? But I think there's another way we sometimes pay people back is in our imagination.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or we're like, okay, I'm not going to actually do anything, but in my mind, you should see what I'm doing.
It's like the scenes in the movies when like somebody's like beating somebody up or throwing a knife at them or something, and then it pans out and it's like real life again. You thought it happened, but it didn't. They were just dreaming it.
I think there's a movie like Duplex where they did that. There was an old lady that they just imagined killing her constantly because she was their annoying upper room tenant.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you ever think that about me?
No, I love you.
Oh, okay. All right. We've not been married very long. Come back in 3 years. Okay. Anyway, so, in those moments when people do things to us and we want to get some form of revenge, I think there's a reason for that. I think in some sense we probably do it because, first of all, we want a wrong to be righted, right? We want to fix the mistake that happened to us or the hurt that was done, or I think sometimes we want revenge maybe because there's some dignity that was stolen from us. So we want to try to figure out how to pay them back because of what was removed from us. Or sometimes we want to pay people back so that they feel the same hurt that we felt. So there is a sense of justice that sometimes is in our desire for paybacks. I think another part of paybacks is it's a form of control. It's trying to get some control in a situation that we feel no control, that we have no control. Or maybe in a confusing situation, payback or revenge helps us feel like we have some sort of control because now we have a target, right? If we can place our target, if we can place blame, if we can go after somebody else, then it makes us feel like we might have some control. Working in the medical field, have you ever had a patient that treated you unfairly?
Yeah, actually, it was more like the daughter of a patient.
Okay.
She was very overbearing, overwhelming, very demanding, very rude. Basically accused the nursing staff, everybody who took care of her mother, that we weren't doing a good enough job for her mom. She took up a lot of our time. And, working in a hospital, you aren't only taking care of one patient. You have anywhere from 5 to 7 patients, depending on the day. And this was a particularly busy day, and she consumed a lot of our time. It wasn't a fun day. No.
And you have a lot of people you have to care for. And I think on that floor, which is not where you're at now, but at that time...
it was a heavy floor.
Yeah, the needs were pretty big.
Yeah.
So... she just kept coming out and wanting more things from you?
Yeah, so it's funny. This particular day, I wasn't caring for her. Another nurse was. And like clockwork, she came in at the same time every single day, and we're all cringing. And she came out and just asked all these questions, like, what time are you giving her pain meds? What time did the doctors come around? Did we get the results yet? Just hounding this nurse for everything. And then... did you do this for my mom? Did you suction my mom? Did you do all of these things? And it was just like over and over and over again. And then as she would come out and, okay, so every time we go in there, every time we go into a patient's room, we try to ask the family if they need anything, if we can bring them back anything. And this particular day, the nurse brought back, say blankets. And then she came back in as she was delivering the blankets. Oh, can you get me some swabs, some mouth swabs? Whatever. Kind of like, think about if you're in the restaurant business, you're a waitress and you deliver waters to the table and you ask if anybody wants anything else. They're like, yeah, I'll take a Coke. You come back with a Coke. Oh yeah, can I get some ranch? Come back. Can I get some ketchup? Come back. So you're back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And in our line of work, we like to kind of bring it all in one lump, knowing that it's not always going to be perfect, but try to like save on time, prioritize your time. And I almost feel like she was doing this on purpose.
And she would question everything that you did.
Every single thing, everything. It was a rough case. It was a rough case. And the patient was lovely. The patient was absolutely lovely. It was the daughter, really, that was the hard one.
Okay. So even though the patient was very kind, no one wanted to care for her because of what her daughter was doing.
It was hard. Everybody dreaded it. We would come in, look at the schedule, and just pray that we didn't have this patient because we knew it was really having the daughter, not the patient.
Okay. Clearly, this is a situation no one wanted to be in, right? If you're caring for someone whose parent is dying or is in poor health, no one wants to be in that situation. So thinking through the very first thing we talked about, know the effect your actions have on your family. So she wasn't even aware that because of her actions, it was actually affecting her mom. And she probably felt alone. She probably didn't know that God was with her, right? She probably didn't know what the next right thing was to do. So she just started spiraling, and that was causing destruction. What did you want to do? What did you really want to do? Come on.
Can I say it on?
I think so. They're not going to know.
I wanted to choke her. I wanted to throat punch her. I really wanted to throat punch her. I felt so bad for any nurse that was taking care of this woman. Every time I saw her, I just wanted to, yeah.
And if you don't know Elizabeth, like, Strength Finders, like, empathy is, like, in her top 5. Like,
it's my number one.
It's your number one. Yeah. So you feel for people. So if she had driven you to the point that you didn't feel for that person
she was
anymore,
bad.
Like,
she was really...
That's rough. That's rough. So actually, it reminds me a little bit about Joseph, because he was in a situation that he didn't ask for, right? Sure, he probably didn't treat his brothers the best, but what sibling gets it right all the time?
Right.
And he had that dream when he was younger that they would all bow down to him, I'm sure he rubbed it in, right? But it really didn't. He didn't deserve the stuff that happened to him. He didn't deserve to be thrown into a pit. He didn't deserve to be sold into slavery. He didn't deserve to be treated how he was by Potiphar's family. He didn't deserve to be thrown in jail. And that's where he found himself, in a bunch of different situations he didn't ask for. But what we found out last week, we ended the story with him being pulled out of prison, and he got put into second in command for the kingdom of Egypt. And as part of that, they were in charge of collecting food because of in the dream that Pharaoh had, they saw that a famine was coming. So they collected food for 7 years, and then for the next 7 years afterwards, a famine hit. And the people of Egypt had enough because of what Joseph had done. But not only was Egypt taken care of, there were a lot of people out in the outskirts who didn't belong to the kingdom who were coming to Egypt for food. So it was actually expanding their kingdom because of the work that Joseph had done. But there's this interesting part of the story, because outside of Egypt, in some nearby hills, guess who else lived nearby? His family, who he hadn't seen forever.
A long time.
So I want to read this. Actually, would you like to read this?
Okay.
She didn't know I was going to make her do this. So in Genesis chapter 42, it says this. Go ahead, 42. By the way, Joseph's dad, his name was Jacob.
So when Jacob heard that grain was available in Egypt, he said to his sons, "Why are you standing around looking at one another? I have heard there is grain in Egypt. Go down there and buy enough grain to keep us alive. Otherwise we'll die." So Joseph's 10 older brothers went down to Egypt to buy grain. But Jacob wouldn't let Joseph's younger brother Benjamin go with them, for fear some harm might come to him. So Jacob's sons arrived in Egypt along with others to buy food, for the famine was in Canaan as well. Since Joseph was governor of all Egypt and in charge of selling grain to all the people, it was to him that his brothers came. When they arrived, they bowed before him with their faces to the ground. Joseph recognized his brothers instantly, but he pretended to be a stranger and spoke harshly to them. "Where are you from?" he demanded. "From the land of Canaan," they replied. "We have come to buy food."
I liked your little inflection there. That was good. Where are you from?
That was so
I feel like I've
scary.
I've heard that version of your voice before.
Shut it.
What I love about this is that one little phrase. Right when they came in, it says when they arrived, they bowed before him.
Like immediately. God.
Do you remember that dream that he had when he was a kid?
Oh, it happened.
It happened.
It came true.
Yeah. Didn't happen right away. A long time afterwards. And I wonder what it felt like to be Joseph in that moment. I'm sure he was feeling all the feels, right? Here comes his siblings decades later after what they had done to him. They walk in, have no clue that it's him. He can literally do anything to them, and they will have no idea. Talk about a chance to have some justice.
Yeah.
Talk about a chance to right some wrongs.
Oh, he had so many chances.
Yeah. And I gotta tell you, I think sometimes people, they skip straight to the end of this because good things happen. We'll get to that in a moment. Joseph wasn't as kind as he could have been. Like, Joseph was not perfect. If you go over the next couple chapters, we're not going to read them. I would say read them. Read starting at 42, Genesis 42. Read to the end of Genesis and look at what happened. Because he did some things. He definitely made them pay a little bit for what that they did. He made them sweat a little.
He freaked them out.
He did. He made them sweat a little. He made his dad sweat a little. I mean, there was some turmoil that he caused. So I'm not going to say what Joseph did was perfect, but how it ended was beautiful. Mm-hmm. His brothers are standing in front of him again after going back and forth. Again, there's a lot of things you should go read. but they're standing in front of him. They're scared. And they think like their lives are ruined. And they're thinking for the first time, they're actually thinking about their dad, right? For the first time, they're thinking about themselves, and they're thinking about all of their brothers, and they're remembering what they did to Joseph. And they don't know it's him. And he could have thrown them in jail. He could have just kept this going. He could have strung this out. But here he had enough. He got to the point where he realized it needed to end. So he looked at them, and it says that he starts crying. He clears out the room. He starts crying. He's upset, and he reveals who he is to his brothers. And he says this.
Please come closer, he said to them. So they came closer. And he said again, I am Joseph, your brother, whom you sold into slavery in Egypt.
Here, I imagine them going, oh, crap.
Uh-oh.
Oh, crap. It's Joseph. We're done. We ain't getting no food. We ain't getting nothing. We're going to jail if we're lucky. Like that.
We're going to die.
That's the best thing. Going to jail would be a good thing at this point. They would have loved to be in quarantine. Too soon? Always. Okay. But then he goes on and he says, don't be upset. He tells him, he says, his next words were, but don't be upset and don't be angry with yourselves. And then he goes on to tell them, he said, hey, God used this for a great thing. And because of this, I am able to help you. See, here Joseph pulls all of it together. He thinks about the way his actions affect his family. And they did too, finally, right? Yeah. He realizes God is with him. He does the next right thing in this moment, which is to help them. He also pulls in the purpose. He said there's a lot of pain, but there's been some purpose found in it too. And then instead of pursuing paybacks to his siblings, you know what he does? He chases after peace. He offers them peace when they didn't deserve it. And it reminds me of something that Jesus said. I want to read this. If we skip over to the Sermon on the Mount, this is probably the most famous sermon that Jesus gave. In Matthew 5, it's a really long sermon, which, by the way, we were reading through this in our Zoom Bible study on Thursday, which you should totally join us. It's at 2 every Thursday, and it's awesome. The link will be below. We were talking with the students, and one of our students, Peyton from Oxford, she noticed this. She said, with this whole sermon, at the very beginning, it looks like he starts it almost by casting a vision for the rest of the sermon. Like, it's almost like the filter that everything else that he teaches is supposed to be filtered through. And he begins it by talking about all these very lowly things and says that that's more important than anything else in his kingdom. Like, God blesses those who are mourned, for they'll be comforted. God blesses those who are humble, for they're going to inherit the earth. So all these things that we don't strive to be. Actually, they're kind of the opposite of how we're told we're supposed to be. Jesus says that's actually the most important thing in his kingdom. So if we want to do it right, we want to lift up people who are like this. We want to be like this. And one of the things he mentions is this. In verse 9, Matthew 5:9, it says, God blesses those who work for peace. Or another version says, blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called the children of God. Not the people who bring war and fighting with each other. Not the people who put other people in the targets. Not the people who look to put other people in the targets, right? He said the people who really are the children of God will be the ones who pursue peace and who bring peace to people, which I fail on that a lot.
I do too.
I don't do that very well. I try to do it better each day as I learn to follow Christ more and more each day. And I think through our situation today and how there's a lot of confusion, right? There's a lot of chaos in our culture right now. There's a lot of people who don't know what's going on. And so what you see because of that, because people don't know what to do, they don't know where to look, they don't know where to turn. Even people who are following Christ are turning and putting other people in the crosshairs over politics, over face masks, on whether you should or shouldn't wear them. And I'm like, man, are we listening to what Jesus is saying here? Are we bringing peace to other people? Are we bringing peace to the world right now? Or are we fighting? Are we pointing fingers? Are we picking out enemies because we feel like it will help us have some control? Are we choosing payback? Or are we choosing peace? You want to end that story? How did you actually respond We know how you wanted to.
Yeah.
How did you actually respond
to
that patient's daughter?
The next time that I had her was the next day. And I dreaded it and I didn't want to have her, but I did. And I just felt like I needed to do something different because the previous nurses that had her, it just wasn't working. They seemed so exhausted and overwhelmed and upset. So I just felt like I needed to listen to her. So like clockwork, she came in at 2:00 and I just sat in that room with her. I asked the nurses to cover my other patients so I could go in and talk with her. And I sat down and I basically laid it out. I opened up to her and I said, listen, you're hurting right now. And I want you to know that I'm here for you. I'm here for your mom, but I'm also here for you. So I want to know what you need. What can I do for you? Mm-hmm. She opened up and just said things that she was struggling with. Just every time that she came in over the past week, like her mom seemed like she was struggling. She talked about finances. She talked about all of these things. And finally, when it came down to it, she just needed somebody to listen to her. And I took the time to listen to her. Even if I didn't really want to, I thought I needed to do something different. And I did pray a little bit beforehand, but I just felt like the nudge to listen to her. And we actually came up with a good plan for her other visits, like her future visits. And in that, I learned that her mom probably was in more pain and the plan that we had for her pain control really wasn't working for her. And if somebody had just taken the time to listen to her 3 days prior to this, maybe this would have been, fixed earlier. But the fact that I actually took the time to do it, we got her mom's pain under control. We got her, the daughter's anxiety under control. And she was more peaceful for the remainder of the time that her mom was on our floor. So it ended up being a really good day. I didn't think it was going to, but it was a good day.
That phrase you said is so powerful. What do you need? What do you need? Is there anything that's more disarming than that? Seriously, when someone's coming at you and they got the grenade in their hands and you got your grenade in your hand and you want to throw it back, there's nothing more disarming to any situation than that question. And that's exactly what you did. You sat down with her. She didn't deserve for you to do that. You'd already given her so much time. So many people had. And everybody wanted her to just go away. Not her mom, but her. And you just did the next right thing. And you sat down next to her and you asked that question, what do you need? So as we pursue peace instead of paybacks, if we take away anything, take away this question. Write this question down. Put it in your memory so you use it all the time. And I'm going to do the same thing. What do you need? And if we start with that, then we can begin to pursue some peace with people. And we can start to offer peace with people when we don't know what to do. Thanks for joining us today. Make sure you join us on our Zoom chat on Thursday. And don't forget, next week we start our last series with Edge before we hit summer. And we got our summer schedule's coming. It's coming. We promise it'll be here soon. But come join us because it's our last word series. And we're going to have some of our graduating seniors share some things that they've learned throughout their years of high school. Yay. So we love you.
Love you guys.
Seriously, we miss you.
So much. Yeah, this is driving us nuts being here cooped up inside.
But I'm beautiful and perfect in every way.
You're amazing. But I miss you, students and leaders and everybody.
Okay, join us in the Zoom chat if it's Sunday night. If not, bye.
Bye.